Hello everyone, this is ponderonweather coming at you with another update. In this update, we're talking about a major winter storm with heavy snow, some extreme winds, and also flooding and severe weather for the south and southeast. So before I do get started, if you do like weather-related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. And I do ask you to share this video with your friends and family on social media. All right, so let's get started. Let's start off with the latest watches and warnings as of this morning, Thursday, February the 25th. And you can see definitely in the Pacific Northwest, that's where all the action is, with winter storm warnings in parts of Oregon and Washington and Idaho, as well as getting into portions of Montana, where they've already seen a lot of heavy snow. We'll go over some of those snowfall totals. And then even now into Colorado, where Denver last night picked up their heaviest, biggest snowstorm yet so far this season. And they're still adding to those totals as of this morning. And then we see high wind warnings and watches with some extreme winds out here in the west with 60 to 80 mile per hour gusts happening, and that trend continues as well. So let me go over some of the impressive snowfall totals over the last just 72 hours from the National Weather Service. And you can see here in Denver, we had that developing snowstorm that developed kind of overnight, with this diving trough that we've been talking about with this cold core loft, and that really amplified the pattern. And man, it dumped 9.6 inches so far in Denver. That's your biggest snowfall total of the season. And typically, as you go into March, some of your heavier snows are going to be out west. So this is kind of right on cue. And some of the foothill locations got over a foot. And then even if you look portions of in the Northwest here, just west of Seattle and Portland up in the mountains, yeah, some of these totals upwards of 2 to 3 feet of snow. This is just in the last 3 days, and especially Idaho here. Some of these mountain regions are picking up some very heavy snow, and that trend actually continues as we go over the next several days. Even north of Salt Lake City picked up some snow, and going up in portions of Dakotas and Minneapolis. And as we swing to the East Coast, you can definitely see some of the higher amounts that fell. A lot of this might have been lake enhanced induced snow, but along the Great Lakes region up here, and then also in the Northeast, where you saw some pretty good snowfall totals over the last just 3 days. So going forward, let me kind of show you what the setup's going to be just over the next 5 to 6 days. Here's the average temperature anomalies. You can kind of actually depict on where the snow may actually fly the next several days, where you got well below normal anomalies out here in the Pacific Northwest and the western parts of the U.S. We've got your above average temperatures in the south and southeast. That's where we're going to be dealing with some of the severe weather and the flooding rains, unfortunately. We have that Arctic air building all the way up into Canada. And then a piece of that is going to slide through around the 2nd and the 3rd into the Northeast and drop these average temperatures down, and really bring some chilly weather by the time the 2nd and the 3rd comes around. But here's the latest satellite picture as of this morning. You can definitely see over Denver and Colorado here, they're still going to be getting some additional snowfall. That event's kind of winding down, but man, that was an impressive snow. We have that snow that just came through into the Northeast. That's going to be pushing off, but yet our attention turns into the Pacific Northwest. Yet again, they're going to be adding to those totals, and that's where going to be our winter storm that's going to be taking place in Oregon and to Washington. As you get up into Idaho and then Montana, definitely some very heavy snow, and also some gusty winds that you're going to have to deal with as you get up in that region, because that trend just continues as you go into Friday morning, the 26th. You can definitely see some of the heavier snows extending, and that extends all the way into Wyoming now, get into portions of Utah, and you can see down to the south. That's where we're going to be starting to see some more of a severe weather setup. Could be, say, of a hail threat in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, getting into portions of Little Rock, into Arkansas here, portions of Oklahoma. that's where you're going to be really starting to see some amplified pattern of some very heavy rain setting up over the south and southeast. And that trend will continue for them over the next several days as we kind of walk you through. The main setup this week is going to be in the Pacific Northwest with that winter storm happening out for that region. And down to the south, you've got your south, flooding rains and severe weather. So, I mean, this is pretty much what March looks like, because we got warm air down to the south and colder air up north. And we've got a huge transition point, where we're transitioning, out of winter going into spring. But winter still hangs on. So you got a lot of moving parts in March, and it could be a real different scenario in much of the, different parts of the country, depending on where you live. So, out here in the Pacific Northwest, you're going to be just inundated with some heavier snows, and that just continues pushing off and just amplifies even further as we get into Saturday on the 27th, and those rains deepen further into the south, into the southeast as well. And you can see definitely as it extends a little bit further north, it'll be able to tap into some of the colder air aloft, and we'll start seeing some of that transition to some snow and snow elevate in some of the higher elevations into the northeast, as this system down here in the northwest will continue extending, pushing a little bit further south now. That will extend into Nevada, into Utah, into portions of Colorado again, with some more snow for you guys, and as well as Wyoming as we get into the day, going into the overnight on Saturday, getting into the day on a Sunday to end February. And that will just add to those totals as we end February, and then we start March. Now that system just continues. You see, I mean, we got Thursday, we got Friday, we got Saturday, we got Sunday. Now we're already into Monday for the south and southeast, and that same area just gets inundated with rain. Some of these portions you're going to have to deal with severe threat as well. We're talking hail is be a main threat because we've got a lot of cold core aloft. And also, an isolated threat of some damaging winds, and possibly even an isolated threat of tornadoes, but maybe not as prevalent. But definitely hail is going to be your main culprit from this setup with that cold core aloft. And that continues lifting off into the northeast. And then, we've got a break here in the Pacific Northwest. But man, look what just trails to the north up in Canada. Just yet another system will come across, and that'll be diving into the northwest by the time the second rolls around on March the 2nd. And that trend just amplifies the pattern even more. So you just picked up a lot of heavy snow over the last 3 days. We already went over the last 3 or 4 days, and this even by day 5, you're just getting, hit again with some more heavy snow in the same areas that just picked up a lot of heavy snow. So you're just adding to those totals, and you're going to be finding places to probably put all this snow, because that'll be added up in a big way in portions of, like I said, getting into Washington and Oregon and northern parts of California now. And that will just extend even, further down to the southeast as we go through the day on the 3rd. But down below, I mean, we're still dealing with the rain in the south and southeast. And look at the temperatures. I mean, by the time the 2nd, like around the 2nd, that colder air that we talked about in the beginning, the below, anomalies, a piece of that will glide down. So this is some Arctic air, but it's just a quick burst of Arctic air. By the time the 2nd on Tuesday comes around, we'd be talking 20s again for lows. And then as we get into the extreme parts of the Northeast, that we're going to be seeing lows into the teens and possibly into the single digits. And we're talking wind chills probably, 10 to 20 degrees below zero in these areas. So definitely a quick burst of frigid air going to be coming in for the Northeast. And you can definitely see where the snow continues to fly into the Northwest, where you got those below average anomalies taking advantage of that snowpack that is still going to be prevalent over that area. So as we extend to the day on Tuesday, you can see that trend just continues to push a little bit further south, tapping into Nevada, getting into Salt Lake City again with some more snow, getting into Colorado, portions of southeastern in Idaho by then. And that will just continue pushing off by the 3rd, February, March the 3rd. Now we're talking more snow pushing into Colorado, into Denver again, just amplifying those snow totals. And that trend, looks to continue. And that little system pushing off into the southeast with that cold air around on the 2nd and 3rd, you could be tapping into some more snow that's going to be amplified over the northeast, getting into Pennsylvania, and that will extend into the northeast. So give you some of these wind gusts over the next 5 to 6 days. I know I got a lot of truck drivers that follow me. So they want to know the conditions when they travel across the United States. And so this will kind of give you a true depiction on some of the extreme winds are going to be taking place over the next 5 to 6 days between the Thursday, February 25th, when I'm making this video, and then also extending through March 3rd, Wednesday, March 3rd. So see, here's some of the higher wind gusts. So you can definitely see out here in the western regions of Washington and Oregon. I mean, look at the chart down here. These are upwards to 60, close to 80 mile per hour wind gust at times. So definitely when you're out and about on the roads, even if you live in those regions, I mean, these are extreme winds. I mean, we're talking hurricane force winds, gust at times, and that will extend into portions of Montana. So where you see some of the reds that are depicting here, that shows you where anywhere from 60 to 80 mile per hour wind gust. And once you get into the central regions of the United States, the pattern kind of amplifies, down. So it's definitely not as extreme. As you can see, some of the colors really subside here. And then it picks back up again as you get possibly into the southeast, where they're going to be dealing with some of the severe weather threat, unfortunately, as well. So this kind of shows you, over the next 5 to 6 days where you can maybe see where some of the extreme higher wind gusts are going to be over parts of the country. And here's your snowfall totals. So, and these are really impressive. I mean, look at these oranges. I mean, you're talking anywhere from upwards to 2 to 3 feet plus in some of the elevated mountain regions out here in the Pacific Northwest. But even down here into western parts of Oregon, some heavier totals here, anywhere from 8 to 12 inches. Portions of Colorado, again, just adding to those totals over the next 5 to 6 days with another 8 to 12 inches in portions of Colorado. Utah, Nevada. Some of these heavier totals are pretty elevated, anywhere from 6 to 8 inches. A lot of totals over a foot plus in these regions. And then out here where they're going to be taking advantage of the colder air on some of those anomalies, that's where your predominant snow line is going to be over the next 5 days up in Canada. And then once it taps into some of that frigid air on the 2nd and 3rd, it's going to be able to bring some of the snowfall totals into extreme portions of the Northeast, with some of those heavier totals as you get, say, into Caribou, Maine, as you get into upstate Vermont and New Hampshire. These are just over the next 5 days. And as this system comes across on the 2nd and 3rd, it's going to bring, again, some more snow into portions of Pennsylvania. And here's all the models. This kind of gives you a depiction of all the models and how this is going to play out. It kind of implies the same thing, where some of definitely the heavier snows are in a lot of the same regions with the same type of, snow amounts. So definitely some heavier snows on the way. And then another piece of the puzzle over the next 5 to 6 days, besides the snow, is going to be the very heavy rain and severe weather threat, unfortunately, for portions of Texas, getting in, say, from Dallas down to the southeast, anywhere from Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, get into Georgia, definitely parts of Tennessee and Kentucky is going to be inundated. These swaths anywhere from 4 to 8 inch swaths. Not out of the question. Isolated amounts could be 10 inches just over the next 5 to 6 days. So definitely a lot of rain coming for you guys in that region. So definitely be on the lookout for that. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after storm.